friends, Svetlana Shlapak, the founder of UKVisaSuccess.com is here. I received a question from an international student asking me what he can do after he finishes his studies. So I've dedicated this video explaining various routes the international students can take after they graduate from the university. So let us begin.
Before I start analyzing the immigration categories which may be helpful for the international students, I would like to explain, guys, that this video is not for EU nationals or Turkish nationals or spouses of British citizens, because there are much more favorable routes for this particular category of citizens. And also in this video, I'm not going to discuss the Tier 5 requirements, because the intention is to explain to the international students how they can settle in the UK, and the Tier 5 applications are not leading to settlements, and therefore I'm not going to discuss them in this particular video. In the past, there were two routes which allowed the students to eventually settle in the UK. These were Tier 1 and Tier 2 UK immigration routes. However, as you may probably know, from 29th of March 2019, fairly recently, they've cancelled the Tier 1 graduate entrepreneur and Tier 1 entrepreneur routes, and now they've substituted it with the startup immigration category. So let me explain what this startup immigration category is all about. In order for someone to remain here as a startup migrant, they have to meet three requirements. The first one is, as with all, or should I say, as the majority of UK immigration applications, they must meet the suitability requirements. In other words, they need to prove to the decision maker that they are a suitable person to remain in the UK, and there are a number of the suitability requirements, and I do not want to spend your time on listing every single aspect of the suitability requirements. If you want to have a look at this, you're more than welcome to visit ukvisasuccess.com/startup and request this information, and it will be with you within the next 60 seconds. Suitability predominantly is about criminality, so the decision maker wants to make sure that a person is of good character, and it's also about the immigration history. They don't want anyone who is an overstayer unless there was an overstaying of less than 14 days and there was a good reason for someone not to make an application within their time limits. And it's also about their previous immigration history, and it's also about whether or not they were dishonest in their previous or current applications. The startup immigration migrants will also need to meet the eligibility requirements. There are two types, the general eligibility requirements and the specific eligibility requirements. The general eligibility requirements consist of the following. First of all, the age. All the applicants must be over the age of 18. The immigration status in the UK. These categories can switch to the startup immigration category, Tier 1 graduate entrepreneur. Although the route is now closed, those who were already granted leave to enter or remain in this immigration category, they can switch to the startup immigration category, and also the Tier 2 migrants and the Tier 4, the general students. However, there are a number of restrictions which apply for those who want to switch from this particular immigration category, and rather interestingly, they now allowed a visitor who has been undertaking permitted activities as a prospective entrepreneur to switch. This is unprecedented permission, because in the past they didn't allow, since they've changed the rules, they didn't allow the visitors to switch to any immigration category. Then we have the breach of immigration rules requirements, and what this basically means is that no one is allowed to make the application to remain in the UK if they become an overstayer, unless the person overstayed for less than 14 days and they can provide the Home Office with evidence confirming that there was a good reason beyond the control of the applicant or their representative to make an application sooner. And the next one is the credibility assessment. So the credibility assessment is generally proving to the decision maker that the application is genuine and that the applicant intends to do exactly what they suggested that they're going to do. And the next one is we have the English language requirements, which can be met in a number of ways. The first one is the applicant can pass the English language test, which should be at least at the level of B1. And unless they're from the majority of English speaking countries. So, and here is the list. If you would like to know more, you may just pause this video to make sure that you can check if your country is on the list. Also, someone can meet their English language requirement by proving that they have a degree which was taught in English. And finally, they can meet the requirement by proving that they were successful in the previous application as a startup migrant or the innovator migrant, tier 1 general, tier 1 post-study work, tier 1 entrepreneur. These routes are now closed, as you may probably know, tier 1 minister of religion, and tier 4 general. The students provided their confirmation of acceptance for studies was granted after 21st of April 2011. And the final general requirement to me is for the person to prove that they meet the maintenance requirements. The person will need to prove that they have at least £945, which was in their bank account in their UK based or UK recognized bank account for at least 90 days, ending no earlier than 31 days before the date of application. Now, I would like to return to the immigration status, and I would like to explain the restrictions which are imposed on tier 4 general students. Okay, so these are the restrictions. If someone was a student here in the UK, they must prove that the body was where they studied was a UK recognized body or a body in receipt of public funding as a higher education institution from one of the following: a higher education funding council for England, the Scottish Funding Council, the Higher Education Funding Council for Wales, or the Department of Employment and Learning in Northern Ireland. Or they can be an overseas higher educational institution to undertake a short-term study abroad program in the United Kingdom, or an embedded college offering pathway courses, or an independent school. And the second condition is for someone who was sponsored by a government or international scholarship agency, and they say that the applicant was in the last 12 months must have been granted unconditional written consent to make the application by their sponsoring government or agency, and provide a letter from each sponsoring organization confirming this. And the letter must contain contact details which allow it to be verified. So if you are or were a tier 4 general student and you would like to switch to the startup immigration category, you need to show that you meet these specified requirements. And then we have the specific requirements. The specific requirements rules are pretty simple, and they are about two things. First of all, they are about the endorsing bodies, and if you would like to have a list of the current endorsing bodies who are eligible to endorse the applicants, then you can make a request at ukvisasuccess.com/startup. And the second one is the applicant must meet the endorsement criteria. So in the endorsement letter, they should confirm that the business venture which you are about to pursue contains three elements. It's innovative, viable, and scalable. Innovative, it's about having a genuine original business plan that meets the new or existing market needs or creates a competitive advantage. The second one is about viability, is when the person who applies is actively developing or already has the necessary skills, knowledge, and experience and market awareness to successfully run the business. And the last element which your business venture should have is all about scalability. So the endorsing body will need to confirm in their letter that there is evidence of structured planning and of potential for job creation and growth into national markets. And secondly, they want the endorsing body to confirm that you will spend the majority of your time working in the UK on your business venture. And the procedure of the startup applications is very simple, very similar to the other ones. First of all, the applicants will need to complete the correct form, and if you would like to have a link to the online form, request it at the ukvisasuccess.com/startup, and they also need to pay the fee. And the current fee at the date of creating of this video is those who wants to switch in the UK, so presumably this will be applicable to the students. That will be the fee for making the application will be £493, unless you are a citizen of Turkey or Macedonia, and if you're applying together with dependents, it will be the same amount. And also you'll need to pay the immigration health surcharge, which is 400 a year. And you'll need to submit the documents, the supporting documents to the designated post, and you will also need to submit the biometrics. And this was a very simple and straightforward procedure. Now let me explain the Tier 2 route for the students. Some time ago, I've published an article which you can find at ukvisasuccess.com/tier 2, where I explained the rules which one needs to meet in order to enter or remain in the UK as a tier 2 general migrant. And I've explained that there are 5 major requirements to meet. The first one is they must not fall under the general grounds for refusal. And as I explained before in this video, there are a number of general grounds for refusal, and if you would like to have a full list, you can apply by requesting this information at ukvisasuccess.com/tier 2 apply without / here. Then you will need to score the points for the Appendix A, for Appendix B, and for Appendix C, and meet other requirements. So for tier 1 general applicants, that will be 70 points, 50 points for general attributes, which means that they will need to meet the specific requirements, 10 points for the English language, and 10 points for the funds, for having the necessary funds. With regards to the attributes, I've explained in this article that the applicants will need to prove, and rather they will be able to score the points if they can show that they've passed the resident labor market test, so they will be getting 30 points for that, and 20 points for the appropriate salary, which is generally £30,000. Then the English language requirement should be, as with the startup company, it will be at the level of B1, unless other exemptions apply, as which I've explained for the startup company. It will be exactly the same, the English language requirements. And the funds, the person will need to have £945 in their bank account for at least 90 days in order to meet these particular requirements. With regards to other requirements, the person will need to be at least 16 years old, and if they're under the age of 18, then they must provide a letter from their parents or legal guardians confirming that they made all the necessary travel, reception, and care arrangements. And also explain that you cannot be a shareholder of more than 10% in the company unless you have a salary of at least 159,600 pounds per year. And if you already applied as a tier 2 migrant, then they will ask you to wait for the cooling off period of at least 12 months. And also with the general requirements for tier 2 applicants, so there is a cap on these types of applications. However, there are some very beneficial exceptions to the rules if someone makes an application as a tier 4 student, and let me explain what these are. First of all, employers are exempt from having to carry out a resident labor market test, which requires a job to be advertised in a particular way, and for the sponsors to demonstrate that there are no suitable settled workers to fill the post. And the second benefit is that the issuing of the certificate of sponsorship is not subject to a national annual limit, so there is no need for approval from the Home Office, and therefore you are highly likely to have the certificate of sponsorship issued to you within a significantly shorter period of time. And thirdly, employers are exempt from paying the immigration skills surcharge. What if you would like to stay with an employer who doesn't have a license? Because all tier 2 employers, as you probably know, because tier 4 sponsors also need to have a license, so do they tier 2 sponsors. They also have to have a license from the Home Office. And if you would like to stay at the company which doesn't have this license and you would like to know more about this, all you have to do is request this information at ukvisasuccess.com/tier to apply. And I'll provide you with the links just explaining the procedure, how you can apply for the tier 2 license. And these were, my friends, 2 routes which the students can apply in order to remain in the UK and eventually settle. Once again, the startup immigration category doesn't lead us to settlement because it's only there for 2 years, but you can switch to the innovator category provided your application is successful. And the tier 2 is probably the most straightforward, provided the sponsor has a license. And if you are offered a job, the maximum period of time which you can remain here in the UK is 5 years, and after 5 years you can apply for settlements provided your sponsor still needs you. And I've mentioned 2 links in this video, and here these links are again for you guys in case you didn't capture them before. The first one is ukvisasuccess.com/startup. If you need further information on this startup immigration category, please feel free to visit the website and request the information, and it will be with you within the next 60 seconds. And the second link is ukvisasuccess.com/tier 2 apply. Again, this is for someone who is interested in this particular route and who wants to know more. And before you go, I wanted to share some exciting news with you. On request of my subscribers, I'll now be publishing a ukvisasuccess.com newsletter. I value your and my time, and therefore in this newsletter I'll be straight to the point. It will be published once a week, and in this newsletter I'll be giving you 5 actionable practical things, and as a ukvisasuccess.com subscriber you will be the first one to see them before everyone else does. And here is the format of the newsletter. I'll be sharing a new video, a new information card. I'll be answering one of the most frequently asked questions submitted by my newsletter subscribers. And I'll be sharing one random thing which is completely unrelated to UK immigration law, but this is going to be something which inspired me and something which may inspire you as well. And finally, I'll be sharing news of the UK immigration world with you and making announcements about free masterclasses, ebooks, mind maps, which I am creating for you guys on a regular basis. The subscription process takes less than 30 seconds, and the link is in the description. If you found this video useful, you can do three things right now. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can visit my free website at ukvisasuccess.com. And most importantly, you can share this video with those who may benefit from it. By sharing these videos, you may help others avoid refusals of their immigration applications. Because in immigration law, knowledge and clarity are the key ingredients to success. Thank you so much for your support and for your positive feedback, which incredibly inspires me and gives me fuel to create more and more videos clarifying various aspects of UK immigration law. Have a great day, everyone.